All right, so your first meeting with Minnesota this season, what's kind of led to their sort of ascent here?
Well, I think their guard play, has really helped them on both ends of the court. I think more than anything, Hawkins, leads the nation in assists. He gives them ultimate quickness that can break down the defense. Cam Christie is a NBA prospect, a guy that can make shots, can shoot off the dribble, can get things in transition, can play out of ball screens. Mitchell gives them that combo guard between those two that can do a little bit of both of those things. He can handle the basketball. He has quickness. He can create a shot for himself. So when you look at that, and then Carrington, is another guy that plays hard, that guards, that can make an open shot also. Mm-hmm. So I think their guards was something, because Cam was a true freshman, Hawkins was a transfer, Mitchell was a transfer. Just people that they had questions about just because they were new. And those guys have really, really played well. Now you throw an all-conference player like Garcia, Pharrell Payne is just a man, physical, tough, plays hard, gets on the glass. So when you look at that, and then Fox brings him energy off the bench, he can play the 4 and the 5. Ala Joseph is talented and long and athletic. So they got a good crew of guys. So it's not where it's one or two guys. They have a good team, they have good depth, they play on both ends. But they're evolving, like they're getting better each game. You can see that. You'll see a little bit of difference, like everybody on the road versus being at home. But they've had games like the game against Iowa, and I know they just lost it, but they're up 20. Like, how many teams on the road up 20 that loses their best player that doesn't play in the second half? That could happen to. It could happen to all of us. And so they've had some games and had some success where they've scored. They've also had some grinders where they've won games in the 50s and the early 60s. So they've proven that they can play a couple different ways. So this is going to be a challenge for us.
If Garcia's healthy, how hard is he to guard?
Well, just the fact that he has that size and he can shoot threes, but he also can post. Mm-hmm. He can slash and get he can get on the glass, but he's going to post up guys that he feels like he has an advantage, and then he's going to drag out guys to the arc. He feels like when he has an advantage out there. So just a good, frontline player, a guy that's had a lot of experience, being in the Big East, being in the ACC, and now being in the Big Ten. Do
they only use him at the 4? Do they slide him at the 5 some?
They just throw out different combinations, more than anything. I don't know if they what they're calling it. You'd have to ask them that, but it really doesn't matter because they can't choose who we, defend him with.
Minnesota is second in assists to field goals made, I believe, in the country. Mm-hmm. Does that challenge your guys' connectedness on defense most of all?
I think it challenges, to start with, trying to bottle up Hawkins a little bit. He's very elusive. He's very good with the ball. He's got good quickness. He knows where people are. I think that's where it starts with. If you take bad shots, he's going to get in transition more. If you turn the ball over, he's going to get in transition more. If you can't contain the dribble, he's going to get to the rim more. So, those things are so important. Take care of the basketball, take good shots, set your defense, try to keep him corralled. But that's, it's easier said than done. Quickness is tough to deal with.
Just want to follow up on something you said last week about Braden and Fletcher being better mentally conditioned to kind of handle the rigors of a whole season. What do you mean by that?
Just you've been through experiences where you feel good about it through your first year, but yet you have moments to where it gets to you, because it's hard on everybody. It's no different than somebody being a really good college player and then going to the NBA, and you just played 35 games and you thought it was an absolute war. And it's really nothing compared to an NBA schedule, right? No different than high school. You think high school is hard, and high school is not hard compared to college, and college is not hard compared to the NBA. You just have to mentally go through some experiences. So now, after you understand, this is for everybody. This isn't just hard for me. This is hard for everybody. And the guys that are more successful, learn to have that mental toughness and just fight through it. So I just think that, they're mentally tougher than they were last year, even though I thought they did some really good things last year. But when you don't have the experience, it's just more difficult.
Zach's evolution as a passer, you've talked about it a lot, but how difficult is that to learn when you're a guy that, I know he hasn't played a lot of basketball, but I'm sure when he was playing basketball, he was taught, you get the ball in the post and you shoot.
Right.
And he had the turnover struggles a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I think he probably would have averaged more assists last year if he shot better. But
Right.
He's kind of on a different level this year.
Yeah, that's so true. He would have had more assists, and it would have looked better as a passer last year if our percentage would have been higher. Yeah, it just it comes with experience. Like, a lot of big guys don't have that experience because they're not very good and nobody doubles them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they just, like, why should you be a good passer when people want you to shoot the basketball from 5 feet? That just, makes no sense, and people don't quite understand that. Well, for him, like, he had to get himself to that position, and he wasn't there. He started basketball late, and now once he started being able to make jump hooks and get deep position, then when people came, and then we had an issue. So then we went to work. Like, we just went to work, and anytime something gets you, just set up drills to where they got you. And then, you just work on that. And then somebody gets you again, you set up a drill like that. So you just keep doing it. Eventually you run out of problematic scenarios and you just get better at stuff. But you make them understand the why of what they're doing. A lot of times just do what I say isn't a very good philosophy. Here's why we're going to do this, and explain yourself. And I've always tried to do that. I've always tried to explain, here's the different scenarios. Then you always got to give them the caveat, like, we can only coach one team. So, there's 2 teams out there. Even though this is what they're doing and this is what they have been doing, they do have the right to do whatever the hell they want in the game. So if something changes, even though we've worked on this and this should be open, you still got to see it. You still got to be able to be fundamentally sound if they jump a passing lane or they jump a switch or just anything when he has the basketball.
The productivity you've gotten from Trey and Mason as a combination has been pretty good. Mm-hmm. How does the kind of distinctions between those two affect your game plans, affected games?
Talking about Trey Kaufman and Mason Gills together, playing. It's not really goes into it. We'll see some things where a guy isn't very good with somebody else, or a guy is superior with somebody else, and then one we try to enhance and one we try to get away from. Those two have been pretty good together. Just trying to find, especially in low numbers, low data. Sometimes you'll get where something looks pretty good, but you also got to consider who we're going against. So it's going and finding your data in the last 8 minutes of every close game. That's real data, right? Now if you go get the whole of it, you're getting games where you're up 30, you're getting games where you're up 20. There are games in there that are meaningful. But you're getting the whole of it. And so sometimes that's what's cool about seeing your road stats, right? That's real. Mm-hmm. Those are real stats. Sometimes when you see your home stats and some guy made 4 jumpers, it's pretty easy to hit the 5th versus being 0 for 4 on the road and hitting that 5th. So things of that nature. But no, Mason can stretch it out. He's more of a low post player. So I think that helps from an offensive standpoint. Trey then can guard a 5, which he's a little more comfortable doing, even though I think he's made strides guarding the 4 and done some good things for us. So it just kind of depends on matchups and styles and things of that nature. And some of it's organic, some of it's not driven through us always. You got other people out there. It's not a 2-man game.
Looking at Ohio